everyone. I'm Nivedha, lecturer, Department of English SF, Sita Lakshmanaswamy College, Trichy. Welcome to today's lesson on the topic History of English Literature. In this presentation, we will study English literature's age-wise, focusing on important periods, writers, and their major works. Let us begin our journey from Neoclassical age to Postmodern age. Neoclassical age. Neoclassical age is also known as the Age of Reason. This period followed the restoration of the monarchy in 1660 and was marked by political debates, party conflict, and the rise of parliamentary power. These political changes strongly influenced literature. Writers of this age believed in reason, order, and discipline. They followed classical Greek and Roman models, and they used satire as the major literary tool to criticize politics and society. The heroic couplet became the most popular poetic form. John Dryden. He is the father of neoclassical poetry. He wrote Absalom and Achitophel. It is a powerful political satire using a biblical story. Dryden comments on the exclusion crisis and criticizes political ambition and rebellion. The Romantic Age, which spans from 1798 to 1837. This age marks a reaction against the Neoclassical age, which emphasized reason and rules. Romantic writers focused on emotion, imagination, nature, and individual freedom. The Romantic age was deeply influenced by major political events. The French Revolution inspired writers with ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The Industrial Revolution changed society, creating poverty, child labor, and urban misery. As a result, writers turned to nature, simplicity, and common people. William Wordsworth. He is considered as the father of Romantic poetry. In Lyrical Ballads, written with Coleridge, Wordsworth used the language of common people. The poem focused on nature, rural life, and ordinary human emotion. Wordsworth believed poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling. This work marked the beginning of Romantic age. S.T. Coleridge explored the world of imagination and the supernatural. His work is The Rime of Ancient Mariner. It is a symbolic poem about sin, guilt, and redemption. Nature is shown as a living Lord Byron. He represents the revolutionary and rebellious spirit of the Romantic age. Don Juan is a satirical epic that criticizes society, politics, and hypocrisy through humor and irony. Byron challenges traditional morality. The poem reflects romantic ideals of freedom and individuality. Percy B. Shelley was a radical poet and idealist. Ode to the West Wind uses the wind as a symbol of change and revolution. John Keats focused on beauty, art, and intense emotion. In Ode to Nightingale, Keats contrasts human suffering with the bird's eternal song. The poem explores transience, beauty, and the power of imagination. It represents the romantic belief in art as a source of escape and truth. The Romantic age reflects the influence of political revolution and social change on literature. The Victorian age is one of the most important periods in the history of English literature. This age is named after Queen Victoria, who ruled England from 1837 to 1901. The Industrial Revolution led to rapid urbanization, factory system, and technological progress. At the time, it created serious problems such as poverty, child labor, unemployment, and class division. Political reforms like the Reform Act aimed to improve democracy, but social inequality continues. These political and social conditions strongly influenced Victorian writers. Victorian literature became a mirror of society. Writers focused on realism, moral responsibility, and social reform. Charles Dickens. He was the greatest novelist of this age. His novel Oliver Twist exposes the cruel treatment of orphans and the evil of the poor law system. In Great Expectations, Dickens explores themes of social class, ambition, and moral growth, showing how society shapes individual lives. George Eliot. He's a leading realistic novelist. Wrote Middlemarch, which presents a detailed picture of provincial life. The novel examines marriage, politics, religion, and the role of women, reflecting the moral and intellectual concerns of the Victorian society. Thomas Hardy represents the pessimistic side of the Victorian age. His novel, The Death of the D'Urbervilles, criticizes social hypocrisy and rigid moral values. Hardy shows how fate and society destroys innocent individuals, especially women. Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet laureate of that age, expresses the doubts and fears of the Victorian mind. His poem In Memoriam deals with loss, grief, faith, and scientific uncertainty, reflecting the conflict between religion and modern thought. The Victorian age stands out for its strong connection between politics, society, and literature. The modern age in English literature, which roughly spans from 1900 to 1945. The period marks a radical shift in literary thought and expression. The political background of the modern age was shaped by World War I and World War II. These wars caused widespread destruction, loss of life, and psychological trauma. As a result, people lost faith in traditional values, religion, and social institutions. Rapid industrialization and urban life further increased feelings of alienation and uncertainty. These political and social changes had a deep impact on literature. One of the key features of modern literature is experimentation. Writers rejected traditional forms and styles. They focused on the inner mind of characters using the techniques like stream of consciousness, fragmentation, and symbolism. Themes such as delusionment, isolation, identity crisis, and meaninglessness became central. T.S. Eliot is one of the most influential poets of the modern age. His poem, The Wasteland, reflects the spiritual emptiness and cultural decay of post-war Europe. Through fragmented images and allusions, Eliot represents a world that has lost direction and fate. Virginia Woolf revolutionized the modern novel with her psychological approach. In Mrs. Dalloway, she uses stream of consciousness to explore the inner thoughts of characters. The novel reflects the impact of war, time, and memory on human life. James Joyce is another major modern writer. His novel Ulysses is known for the complex narrative technique and deep psychological insight. Joyce portrays ordinary life in an experimental way, highlighting the modern search for identity and meaning. D.H. Lawrence focuses on human relationships and emotional conflict. His novel, Sons and Lovers, explores family bonds, love, sexuality, and individual freedom. Lawrence highlights the psychological struggle of modern individuals. The modern age represents a break from tradition and reflects the political chaos and psychological unrest of the 20th century. The postmodern age in English literature, which begins after 1945 and continues to the present. This age emerged as a response to the political, socio, and cultural change that followed the Second World War. The political background of the postmodern age is shaped by World War II, the Cold War, decolonization, globalization, and the rise of mass media. These events created a deep distrust in grand narratives such as absolute truth, progress, and authority. As a result, writers question traditional beliefs, political power, and fixed identities. One of the key features of postmodern literature is fragmentation. Narratives are often nonlinear and open-ended. Writers use metafiction, irony, parody, and intertextuality. There is no single truth. Instead, multiple perspectives can coexist. Postmodern texts also blur the boundary between history and fiction, reality and imagination. Samuel Beckett, a major postmodern dramatist, wrote Waiting for Godot. The play represents the theatre of absurd through repetitive actions and meaningless conversation. Beckett portrays the uncertainty, helplessness, and absurdity of human existence in a post-World War. Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children is a landmark postmodern novel. It blends history with fantasy and magical realism. The novel explores post-colonial identity and political history of India, showing how personal lives are shaped by national events. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian novel that criticizes authoritarian politics and gender oppression set in a future society. The novel warns against the loss of freedom and misuse of political power, especially over women's bodies. Janet Winterson's Orange Are Not the Only Fruit challenges traditional ideas of gender, sexuality, and religion. The novel uses a non-linear narrative and autobiographical elements to question fixed identities and social norms. To conclude, the postmodern age reflects a world marked by social uncertainty, cultural diversity, and skepticism. Writers like Beckett, Rusty, Atwood, and Winterson use experimental forms to question authority, identity, and truth, making postmodern literature both challenging and powerful. From the Victorian social constraints to postmodern uncertainty, literature continues to question and redefine life, from reason to rebellion, realism to fragmentation. Literature has reflected every age of human thought. Thank you for traveling through these literary ages with me. Thank you.